Shabbat Shalom, everybody, and you're welcome to the Yom Teruah service. And I just want to quickly discuss about a little history about Yom Teruah, aka Rosh Hashanan. I subtitled it Yom Teruah become Rosh Hashanan. How did it come about that Yom Teruah in the Torah become Rosh Hashanah? How come the 7th month, the first day of the month, become the first month? Where is that? It doesn't make sense, right? Because this is the 7th month according to the Torah. The 7th month. So how come the 7th month become the new year? And they tell you, Shana Tova, Shana Tova. How did it come about? So let us look at the root of those issues, so we can have a very clear understanding of actually what really happened. The new year of 5782 is a Shemitah year. I mean, this year that we just enter, according to the Rabbinical. Okay, according to the Rabbinical, the 7th year of the Shemitah cycle, during which the reset button is pushed for land, animal, and people. The Hebrew numerical letter for 5782 are Tav, Shin, Pe, and Bet. The letter Bet is the first letter of the Torah, that is Bereshit. Bet, Bereshit. Okay. And which symbolizes a house. Bet symbolizes a house. As sages tell us, the world was created using the letter Bet. As we apply the Shemitah years, emphasize on rest, release, renewal, and replenishment of our lives. The Bet reminds us that it is time to get our house in order and care for all of creation. Now, I'm just going to a kind of review, because the year that we are now is a Shemitah year where everything is going to be reset. You don't plant. There is no planting, you give rest for the animals, for the people, everything is what? You come back again. It's a circle. It's a circle, right? So, on the first, the Torah speaks, on the first day of the 7th month, the Torah commands us to observe the holy day of Yom Teruah, which means a day of shouting. In the book of Leviticus, chapter 23, verse 23 and 25. And also it repeats in Numbers, chapter 29, verse 1 to 6. Yom Teruah is a day of rest. No work can be done. Work is forbidden, okay? One of the unique things about Yom Teruah is that the Torah does not say what the purpose of this holiday is. It didn't tell us anything about it. The Torah gives at least one reason for all the other holy days, and 2 reasons for some. The feast of Matzot, that is the feast of the unleavened bread, that is Pesach, it commemorates the Exodus from Egypt, but it's also a celebration of the beginning of the barley harvest. Exodus chapter 23, verse 15. Leviticus chapter 23, verse 4 to 14. The feast of Shavuot, which means the feast of the weeks, is a celebration of the wheat harvest. It is there in the book of Exodus, chapter 23, verse 16, and also chapter 32, verse 22. The Yom HaKippurim is a national day of atonement, as described in great detail in the book of Leviticus chapter 16. Finally, the feast of Sukkot, which means the feast of the booth, commemorates the wandering of the Israelites in the desert, and is also a celebration of the ingathering of the agricultural produce. Exodus chapter 23, verse 16. In contrast to all these Torah festivals, Yom Teruah has no clear purpose other than we are commanded to rest on this day. We are commanded by God to rest on this particular day. Nevertheless, the name of Yom Teruah provides a clue as to its purpose. Teruah literally means to make a loud noise, to shout. This word can describe the noise made by a trumpet, but it also describes the noise made by a large gathering of people shouting in unison. Understand? Not individually, shouting in unison. And we can find this in Numbers chapter 10, verse 5 and 6, for example. And it shall come to pass, when the ram horn makes a long blast, when you hear the sound of the shofar, the entire nation shall shout a great shout, and the wall of the city shall fall in its place, and the people shall go up as one man against it. Can you understand that? The people shall go up like one man against it. The people, you see, the Torah is clear. God is giving us a very unique command here. He said, the shofar blast shall be what? In unison. The shouts shall be in unison, like one, not individually. It's a collective thing, like a single soul. Their mind, their heart is one. Okay? And he said, they are one. When the wall falls, all the men shall march against that city like a single soul. That means that I'm not going to go and we're not going to go against the city. I mean, oh, I'm looking for the gold. No. Oh, I'm looking for big cow. Oh, I'm looking for the best cloth. No. The war is what to march against it, slaughter everybody, and we can now rejoice with the loot. Initially is to go and conquer them. Take it. Take it. That is what God is saying. You have to take this. It is your birthright. I've given it unto you. You have to take it. So we have to do that in unison, as one, not as individual, as one. In the book of Joshua chapter 6, verse 5. In this verse, the word shout appears twice. Once as the verb form of teruah, and the second time as the noun form of teruah. Although this verse mentions the sound of the shofar, the ram horn, the two instances of teruah do not refer to the shofar. In fact, in this verse, teruah refers to the shouting of the Israelites, which was followed by the fall of the wall of Jericho. While the Torah does not explicitly tell us the purpose of Yom Teruah, its name may indicate that it is intended as a day of public prayer. The verb form of Teruah often refers to the noise made by a gathering of the faithful calling out to the Almighty in unison. For example, clap hands, all nations, shout to God with a singing voice. In the book of Psalm 47 verse 2, or Psalm 66 verse 1, which states, shout to the Lord, all the earth. In the book of Psalm 81 verse 2, it's also said, sing to God our strength, shout to the God of Jacob. And finally, the book of Psalm chapter 100 verse 1 states, shout to Jehovah all the earth. In the book of Leviticus chapter 23 verse 24, Yom Teruah is also referred to as Zekron Teruah. The word Zekron is sometimes translated as a memorial, but this Hebrew word also means to mention, often in reference to the speaking the name of Jehovah. For example, Exodus chapter 3 verse 15, Isaiah 12 verse 4, Isaiah 26 verse 13, and Psalm 45 verse 17. The days of Zekron Teruah, the mentioning shout, may refer to a day of gathering in public prayer in which the crowd of the faithful shout the name of Jehovah in unison. Today, few people remember the biblical name of Yom Teruah, and instead it is widely known as Rosh Hashanan, which literally means head of the year, and hence also a new year. The transformation of Yom Teruah, Day of Shouting, into Rosh Hashanah, New Year, is the result of pagan Babylonian influence upon the Hebrew nations. The first stage in the transformation was the adoption of the Babylonian months' names in the Torah. In the Torah, the months are numbered as first month, second month, third month, fourth month, fifth month, sixth month. That's no name, right? First month, so and so on and so forth. That is how it is mentioned in the Torah. For example, in the book of Leviticus chapter 23, Numbers chapter 28. During their sojourn in Babylon, that is the exile in Babylon, our ancestors began to use the pagan Babylonian months, the name of those months. A fact readily admitted in the Talmud, even though the Talmud admitted it, that it is true. The name of the month came up with them from Babylon. It's written in Jerusalem Talmud, Rosh Hashanah 1-2-56b. In Talmud, it is written there that the name of the month came up with them from Babylon. Initially, we don't have his first, second, third month as what stated in the Torah. The pagan nature of the Babylonian month names is epitomized by the fourth month known as Tammuz. Right? Tammuz is the name of a god in Babylon. In the Babylonian religion, Tammuz was the god of grain, whose annual death and restoration brought fertility to the world. In the book of Ezekiel, the prophet described a journey to Jerusalem in which he saw the Hebrew women sitting in the temple, weeping over Tammuz. Ezekiel chapter 8, verse 14. You can read that. The reason they were weeping over Tammuz is that, according to the Babylonian mythology, the myth or the myth of Babylon, Tammuz has been slain but had not yet been resurrected. The ancient Babylonian, the time of weeping over Tammuz was the early summer, when the rains cease throughout the Middle East, and green vegetation is burned by the unrelenting sun. To this day, the fourth month in the rabbinical calendar is known as the month of Tammuz, which we have it, the month of Tammuz. And it is still a time for weeping and mourning among the rabbinical. And that is why this sect of Judaism, the sect from Egypt, I remember the Karaite. That's why the Karaite completely reject rabbinical. They completely rejected it. They said, no, we are going to follow only the Torah. Your Talmud, or whatever you can call it, Oral Torah or no Oral Torah, we are not going to do what? We are not going to follow it. That is the great differences between them. You see? So those people, they say that only what the written Torah is what we are going to follow, not your Talmud. And the rabbinical actually based their foundation on Talmud, which is not right. To me, I don't think it's right. What we should base our foundation on is the written Torah, not the oral Torah. Some of the Babylonian months' names found their way into the later book of the Tanakh, but they always appear alongside the Torah month's name. For example, in the book of Esther, chapter 3, verse 7, it says, in the first month, which is the month of Nisan, in the 12th year of the king Ahasuerus. So we can see there, they use the Torah month and they use the Babylonian month. You see, two of them. So, but do we have to, do we have to do this? No. But it is people have eaten the intestine of another people. Understand what I mean by eating an intestine? That means they become one like them. And when God says, you shall not be assimilated, never say, even though the prophet, right? Balaam said that these people are solitary people. We are solitary people. Remember our forefather Abraham. Abraham is what? He's living on the other side. He's alone. He's a solitary man. It's not on the side of the old world or the old world in the side of sin or iniquity. God said, you shall separate yourself. You shall be holy unto me. We are solitary people. We cannot be mixed. It's just like oil cannot mix with water. That is who we are. We cannot mix with the world. We cannot mix with iniquity, with transgression, with sins. But in this case, we can see that actually most of our sages, they've assimilated themselves into the Babylonian culture and tradition, thereby taking in a lot of Babylonian names, a lot of Babylonians' idolatry, and they infuse it into Judaism. This verse starts off by giving the Torah name of the month, first month, and then translate this month into its pagan equivalent, which is the month of Nisan. By the time of Esther, the queen, all Jews that lived within the boundary of Persian empires, and the Persians, they have adopted the Babylonian calendar for the civil administration of their reign. Remember, there is no wisdom that is new. Everything is of old. This one copy from there, you copy from here, copy from here, copy from here. You bind it, you mix it together, it becomes your own. So there is no any some kind of a new things that come under the sun. The Torah said there is nothing new under the sun. Everything is of old. What we do is to take them, refine them, and give them another name. And we bring it again back, refine. Oh yeah, it's new. No, it's not new. Everything is of old. So, because the Persian, they've adopted the Babylonian calendar, so it's easy for them to administer their own reign. They were the governor general of the entire planet at that time. At first, the Jews used these Babylonian months names alongside the Torah month names, but over time, the Torah months name fell into disuse. They no longer use the Torah-based name, which God had given it. First month, second month, third month, fourth month, they now begin to use only the Babylonian name. As the Hebrew people become more comfortable with the Babylonian month's name, they become more susceptible to other Babylonian influences. This is similar to the way that American Jews, North American Jews, observe Hanukkah as a Hebrew version of Christmas. So now to us, Hanukkah is like a Christmas. Because it's in December, after December, I give gifts, we begin to do that too. Because we become influenced by this pagan way of life of Rome or of Greek. We should be very careful not to fall into the trap of the enemy. The Torah is our path, the truth, and our lifeline. So this is extremely important. Let's follow the Torah. Yes, some people say, oh, I want to be a Jew. You don't have to be a Jew. I told everybody at Kehila Beta Israel, my job is not to make you a Jew. No. My job is to make you to follow the Torah. You are beautiful the way God has created you. Peru, Chile, Africa, North America, Quebecois, Canadian, you are beautiful. That is who God. That is where God wants you to be. You are wonderful. You are beautiful as God has created you. But what God wants from you is to follow the Torah. That is it. That's my job. I'm not here to convert you into a Jew. No, it doesn't make sense. Follow the Torah. That is it. Once you follow the Torah, you will understand. Then your mind will expand. So, wow, this is wonderful. So, may God bless you. May God bless us. May we continue in the path of justice, the path of righteousness, and in the path of the Torah. Don't follow them. They might come. But if I say Happy New Year, whatever New Year it is for them, that is their own. But we will follow the Torah. Shabbat Shalom.